Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the 2020 Homeless Persons Memorial Vigil. I'm John Parvinsky, President of the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. This year marks the 31st year we have come together as a community to remember those who have experienced homelessness and who have died this past year. I have had the honor of giving voice and recognition to these men and women, our brothers and sisters, who have lived among us and whose lives were taken much too soon. We do this as part of the National Homeless Persons Memorial Day, joining hundreds of communities across our nation, remembering those who we have lost. Now, in previous years, we gathered in front of the Denver City and County building to read the names of each person who passed away that year. This year, on the first day of winter and the longest day of the year, we are remembering the loss of those experiencing homelessness with a luminary memorial with timed entry at the Vigil location at the City and County building. However, like many things in 2020, these are not normal times, and we must change how we conduct our annual vigil. We know that many of you are unable to join us in person this year, and so we are conducting this virtual vigil, creating a video to allow us to mourn together, whether at the memorial site or from your own home. While COVID-19 has changed the way that we have orchestrated the vigil this year, it has not changed the meaning nor the opportunity to honor our friends and loved ones. For too many of these individuals, this will be the only memorial service that they will have. So we will remember those who may have felt forgotten while they lived and bring awareness to the growing issue of homelessness in our community. It is both our humble duty and honor to bring remembrance to these lives and our great responsibility to ensure that these deaths reinforce the magnitude of which homelessness contributes to the early and often preventable death of too many of our neighbors. This year, we honor and mourn the lives of 222 people who have died on the streets of Denver this year. Last year, the Denver Medical Examiner changed its policies and no longer discloses the names of individuals who have died homeless. So we are relying upon the names provided to us from our community homeless service providers. Thus, we know that there are many people that we will likely miss tonight in the reading of the names. Unfortunately, though, this is still the largest recorded number of deaths of people experiencing homelessness since we began our vigils 4 decades ago. We are deeply sorry if your friend or loved one has been excluded from this year's list, and we will hold a moment of silence for those who are unnamed at the end of this event to honor these individuals. Now, data from the medical examiner does show that too many people died this year from drug overdose. Deaths that could have been prevented with expanded availability of affordable and accessible substance treatment services linked to housing. Unfortunately, the link between homelessness and mental illness and addiction is very strong. Some turn to substances in order to dull the impact of their mental illness, while some turn to it to dull the impact of life on the streets. For others, it's a contributing cause of their homelessness. But whatever the cause or effect, we must redouble our efforts to expand substance treatment options for those who are addicted and to provide safe and supportive housing to reduce and end homelessness in our community. Over one half of the deaths this year were due to accidental causes, while over a quarter died of natural causes. Those who have died struggled against overwhelming odds of survival. Time that one spends on the streets takes a considerable toll on one's health, and those experiencing homelessness have a life expectancy that is 30 years lower than those who are housed. And we cannot forget, particularly this year, that those experiencing homelessness are disproportionately people of color, Black, Latina, Indigenous people, and many more are LGBTQ. Years, decades, and centuries of racial and social inequality have led to this disparity. And we can only end homelessness if we recognize this and we fight for equality and justice. So many of these deaths could have been prevented with the right resources and support. We know how to prevent these tragic losses. We know what works. We just need to bring it to scale. It starts with low barrier access to supportive housing and access to quality health care. And it continues with the ongoing support of peers and neighbors to help people keep their housing when things get tough. It also requires recovery options that help people overcome mental illness, addiction, abuse, and despair. We need more access to these services. We can and we must do better. Our challenge is to expand our reach and to strengthen our ability to respond to those who are in need. This year, we must also remember those who provide services and help those experiencing homelessness in our shelters, in our healthcare facilities, and those who are doing outreach on the streets, despite the threat of COVID-19. These frontline warriors deserve our heartfelt gratitude and support and respect. Tonight, the words of the labor activist, Mother Jones, resonates now more than ever. We must pray for the dead, but we must fight like hell for the living. So tonight, as we remember our friends and those who we've never known, who are suffering and serves as a heartbreaking call to action, let us all recommit to the efforts to end homelessness in our community with a renewed sense of purpose, sense of urgency, and determination to make a difference and to save people's lives. Let us dream of the day when every man, woman, and child has a safe place of their own to live and to thrive, a place to call home. We will now hear from Randall Loeb, a community leader, a dear friend, and a coalition board member, who will share the eulogy he wrote to honor our friends who have died.
I don't belong. Do you? Don't feel safe anywhere. Here, I don't belong. I don't feel safe anywhere. Never. When I'm resting, I always see someone coming after me. Getting in trouble has always been my specialty. When I was small, I never felt welcomed anywhere. My grandparents felt I was a mess, incorrigible, a pest. My playmates were imaginary brothers who walked with me or my shadows, kept me from falling in, looked after me as much as anyone. I never felt that I belonged in any group anywhere. In all the time at school, I was looked upon a fool. As I grew older, many times I'd hover over a place that was safe, retreat to my fort, cover up, wait. In bed at night, I'd wondered how I'd survive. I created a cave and covered myself completely, listening to my breath as I fell into deepest rest. I always was chased to every rampart great and deep. I climbed and peered out across the sky to find an infinite morass of buildings too numerous to scale, of ways clogged like a Jericho road. Beholding all of this made me wince, awakening with a start, finding life was always frightening beyond imagining. I'm much older. These demons succeed in unnerving my every waking and every turn. I'd be safer not coming home. I'd remember inward what's causing strife. I'd be free, a waif in tangled grass, a gremlin without a past. Sorrow, loss of constant hate. If differences between others vanished, then would you allow me to be a classmate? Would you let me play, choose me, not because I'm the best? We're here, welcoming everyone distinct, without judging what they're doing, what their gain, what you win. Could you please offer a place for us all? No matter what, we'll shine by this immeasurable gift. By this, we'll be all right, even if we're not the best. My grandparents thought I was a pest. I felt I was safer anywhere but here. I preferred to live out my life alone.
Thank you, Randall. We will now begin the reading of the names of those that we have lost. Each person will be remembered by community leaders who are fighting day after day to end homelessness. We'll hear from Tom Loers of the St. Francis Center, Lisa Ravel from the Harm Reduction Action Center, Christina Carlson from Urban Peak, Stephanie Miller from the Dolores Project, and Angel Hurtado from the Volunteers of America. And after each name is read, we invite you to say, "We will remember."
I'm pleased to share with you and honored to read the names of some of our community members who have died over the past year. Will Adams, Edward Aguiar, Ellery, Todd Apache Ham, Brian Aragon, Dominic Archuleta, Floyd Ariano, Mark Austin, Lawrence Sevilla, David Ayala, Aaron Banks, Wayne Berry, Linda Behar, Brian Benedetti, Leroy Blank Jr., Monique Blay Weber, Daniel Bolton, William Sonny Brown, Forrest Brush, Jenny Burdick, Margaret Burrows, Vincent Cabrera, Calvin Calloway, Victor Carvajales, Ruth Carney, Richard Carter, Eddie Cesares, Javier Casillas, Carlos Castillo, Johnny Chavez, Robbie Chavez, Tommy Chi, Spencer Cheeks, Susan Bailey Christie, Lois Clark, Tyrone Claiborne, Roy Colmenero Jr., John Coyat, John Crespin, Michael Coulter, Patrick Crosby, James Larry Cross, Curtis Scott D'Arcy, Alfred Dawson.
Stanley Davis, Barbara B.J. Dean. William Lamont DeBose. Joseph D. Herrera. Kenneth A. Dinghies. Richard Dodge. Randy Dodson. Manuel Dugaby. John Donnelly. Leslie Douglas. Matthew Duncan. Ronald Duran. Rick Dye. David Easton. Jeffrey Ferguson. Fernando Fernandez. Veronica Finn. John Folsom. Vincent Fondren. Teddy Forney. Timothy Fortney. Patrick Foster. Kathleen Frazier. William Freeland. Maria Fritchie. Mark Fuller. Ernest Galindo. Margaret Gallegos. Audrey Garcia. Michael Gardner. Helen Garnier Reyes. Janine Garson. Lauren Geskiorowski. Edward Gaston. Paul Gomez. Emerson Greystone. Lance Gregory. Mark Guerrero. Casey Gursky. Geraldine Gutierrez. John Hall. Joseph Haley. Moses John Ham. John Hanson.
Joseph Harder. Marcus Harris. Jeffrey Hartman. Stephen Hicks. Dorla Houston. Kenneth Howell. Ray Hubbard. Sid Hudson. Lee Irvine. Holly Jackson. Barbara James. Cynthia Jones. Glenn Dave Jones. Bianca Jimenez. Antonio Horadine. Philip Knight. Bruce Kuhlman. Paul Lambert. Gerald Lander. Shay Lee. Anna Lerma. Jimmy Lewis. Alfonso Lamas Ramos. Linda Long. John Lovato. Ronald Lucero. Yvette Mays. William Mayhew. Vilbanka Marine. Matthew Martinez. Stephen Martinez. Judy Metz. Trilon Meconio. Robin McGeary. Frankie McKinstry. Roger Medina. Karen Mayer. Roland Milton. Walter Paul Miner. Jose Montoya. Lyle Muma. Kenneth Mooney.
Paige Moss. Ajay Munez. Pamela Munez. Edward Munson. Calvin Murphy. Donald Mayer. Derek Miles. Emily Norman. Adikamo Odwala. Jeffrey Ortega. Vicentia Pacheco. Latasha Parham. Yvette Blue Pena. David Phillips. Alec Pittman. Letitia Plata. David Ponder. Twyla Pouncey, Kat Price, Dwayne Pride, Ratasha Pryor Thomas, Mark Rachels, Twyla Rennell, Randall Randy Reisenstein, William Ritchie, Jesse Rosbia, Thomas Roscoe, Christina Ross, Charles Salazar, Dean Salazar, Miguel Salazar, Jason Sandberg, Eloy Sandoval, Sonia Sandoval, Fernando Saucedo, Troy Savakul, Michael Sheeler, Brent Scott, Joseph Gerald Arthur Scott, Christian Shimonkovitz, Glenn Schultz, Paul Silva, Jakir Sarge Simmons, Esta Skavrinsky.
Rocco Smaldone, Dennis Smith, Kenya Smith, Randall Randy Snyder, Serafin Soriano Aguilera, Christina Spranger, Tracy Staley, Lisa Stanberry, Dion Michelle Stanley, Patricia Steele, Stephen Stevens, Sean Sullivan, Melbourne Tallman, Anthony Taylor, Dawn Taylor, Charles Thompson, Fernando Torres, Ernest Trujillo, James Lee Trujillo, Shernetta Vaughn, Ronald Veenstra, Anthony Vigil, Jared Villaluz Jones, Richard Walker, Alan Walsh, Robert Walter, Barry Ward, James Wozlewski, Shadwick Waver Roystein, Renee Webster, Reginald Wheeler, Belnita Geraldine Whitecalf, Kevin Wiley, James Williams, Laura Williams, Chantel Williams, Watts Williams, Darren Brett Willis, David Wilson, Ariana Wolk, Robert Woodard, Jacqueline Wren, Barbara York, Alexa Zion Beautiful.
Now, please join me for a moment of silence for those who we were unable to recognize and honor today because we don't know their names. And please say we will remember them as well. And so, in closing, as we remember those that we have lost, we must recognize that there are still hundreds of individuals who will call the streets their home tonight. There are thousands more in our emergency shelters, only one step away from the streets. We appreciate you joining us to help memorialize these individuals. Let us never forget them, and let us never give up the fight to end homelessness in our community for good. Thank you and good night.